Hey, Motorman here, and today we're going to talk about making a turn too wide while making a right. Now, you can see this picture. I spent hours making this picture. You're coming down the road here, you got to make a 90-degree turn. Now, I've seen this in the real world, and I'm going to show you some real world shots, but in the class, when a rider does this, they tend to go too wide so that they're actually on the wrong side of the road. If there's a vehicle parked here waiting at a stop sign to make a turn and you go too wide and you look at that vehicle, you're going to hit it. Or if it's just coming down the street here, you cannot make past this double yellow line or the single line, whatever it may be. You can't go that wide. If you do, you're going to get hurt or seriously killed. The other thing we're going to talk about is S-shaped turns just like this. Another work of art I did here. And we have an exercise that simulates these S-shaped type turns. It's called the offset cone weave. And I'm going to show you what happens when a rider can't transition quickly. So you're coming down this curve here and you're not looking where you should be. Instead, you're looking here. So what happens? You can't turn the motorcycle and you run right off the road. If you happen to make this curve and you look at this point right here, again, you're going to go off the road. Now, if you want to do some off-roading, that's okay. Get an off-road motorcycle. When we do this in the class, it usually takes a couple of times for the riders to go through the offset cone weave before they get it right. Out in the real world, there's one time. You got one shot at it. If you don't make it, you're going to get hurt really bad. You're going to crash your motorcycle. You're going to break some bones. You might even total the motorcycle. So how do you avoid that? Take some training. I've got Ride Like a Pro courses all over the country. Find one nearest you. So let's take a look at the video and we'll see exactly what happens. This is very common, making these turns way too wide so that you're on the wrong side of the road. Watch this now. It's going to be in slow motion. That was a little bit tighter turn. He misses that green cone. That was his goal, to hit that green cone and get within inches of it. He misses it by 2 or 3 feet. He looks at the opposite side of the road and he goes out of the course, out of the leg. If that was on the street, he'd be in the grass or into the guardrail. Same thing here, way too wide. He needs to get to that green cone on the right. Doesn't come close to making it. Then he looks straight and again goes off the road. Now, if you were doing this in the real world, this is out on the street, about to make a right-hand turn, very easy right-hand turn if you turn your head and eyes and you focus where you should be, which is down the road to the right where you want to go. The further you turn your head to the right, the tighter the turn will be. If I look at that yellow line in the road, that's where the bike goes. There's a car there, there's a chance you might hit that car. Don't let that happen to you. Learn the technique of proper head and eyes under controlled conditions. Here we're going to do a 90-degree right-hand turn, going 30, 40 miles an hour, slowing down. By the time you get to the turn, you're probably going about 10 or 12, so you should be using the friction zone, even if you're in second gear. Turn your head to the right. If there was a car at that stop sign and you looked at that car, I guarantee you'd either hit it or come really close to hitting it. I saw somebody on a motor scooter, a rented motor scooter once in Daytona, doing exactly that for no apparent reason on a little 50cc motorcycle or motor scooter. He looked at the car at the stop sign and ran right into it. Again, let's watch this rider. He's going to have to transition now. He looks at the thing he doesn't want to hit, that cone, and he hits it. He, again, is 4 or 5 feet away from the green cone where he should be, and he winds up riding off the road. Here in the parking lot, it doesn't matter. Here's another rider doing the same thing, going over that imaginary double yellow line. And here's a rider doing it correctly. This rider is using his head and eyes. He's in the friction zone. It's got a little bit of pressure on the rear brake. This bike, by the way, is an Indian Challenger. Not the easiest bike to handle at low speeds. In fact, it's one of the most difficult for a variety of reasons. Again, he looks at the thing he doesn't want to hit. The bike goes wherever you look. Now, this is the exercise called the offset cone weave. It's a series of S-shaped turns, similar to what you'd find on a winding road up in the mountains somewhere, anywhere really. There are a lot of corners or turns just exactly like this, some even tighter than this. If you use your head and eyes, you'll stay on the road. If you look only where you want to put that front tire, it's going to work every time. Now, we don't have many winding roads or severely winding roads here in Florida, but I try to demonstrate this here for you. This is the back of a mall where they have some S-turns, though these are fairly big S-turns, but the same thing here. This is very close to where I was doing some training. I've often had riders come down to this area right here who were having a problem on the course. I said, let me see if you do that on the road. And many times they would cross that double yellow line. Of course, there's no traffic back here. There never is because half the mall is closed down. But I would watch them actually going off the road. I said, if you do that on a busier street where there's some traffic, it's going to be really terrible results. Here it is coming the opposite way. You got to look through the curve, turn those handlebars. In this case, we're up to push steering, so speed. So you push forward on the right grip, the bike leans to the right and goes to the right. Push forward on the left grip, the bike will lean to the left and go to the left. And of course, you got to turn your head and eyes and look where you want to go. That is probably the most important of the 3 techniques that I teach. Now let's watch this rider attempt the offset cone weave, these S-shaped turns. He looks and doesn't turn his head quick enough. If that was the street, he would have gone off the road because the road would be inside of that green cone. That's where he wanted to go, but because he looked straight instead of turning his head quickly, he'd have gone off the road. If there was a guardrail there, he'd hit the guardrail. If it was a cliff, he'd have gone off the cliff. This is why we train. We want to avoid these situations out on the street. This is where you want to make your mistakes. Every exercise has a direct relationship to things that happen on the road. Now this rider is afraid to lean the motorcycle, so he's doing everything he can to keep that motorcycle as straight up as possible. That means his speed is about 4, maybe 3 miles per hour. His shoulder comes up, which prevents, that's his brain saying to him, don't turn your head, don't turn your head. The shoulder comes up so he can't turn his head. But if he was out on a street on a winding road and there was any kind of traffic, I mean, people would be blowing the horn, they'd be trying to pass him. It creates a dangerous situation. Got to get over that fear of leaning the motorcycle, and you got to do that under controlled conditions. We go over all of this in my Ride Like a Pro experience video. It's extremely detailed. Get yourself a copy, ridelikeapro.com. It'll change your riding life forever. Had these riders practiced prior to coming here, they would be not perfect, but I would only have to refine their riding. This rider did practice prior to coming here, and he has no problem with any of the exercises. You got to practice, but you got to know what to practice, and that's what I show you in my video. To see exactly what's in the Ride Like a Pro experience video, just click on the trailer. The trailer runs for about 10 minutes here on YouTube.